welcome to the Sports Countdown podcast with Declan Hughes and Peter Lynch. This week we're buzzing to be joined by Aaron Folan to talk all things football coaching. Just before we get started, as ever, a quick shout out to Freelance Football Ops. They're a top group who source paid football media roles, so you can give them a shout on Twitter or LinkedIn if you're looking for a job in the industry right now.
Aaron, thanks for joining us today, mate. It's good to have you on. How are you?
I am good, mate. It's good to be on. Good to get on for a chat.
Some man. Absolutely. So do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then maybe some of the teams that you're involved with youth coaching?
Yeah, so I started off, I was with St Andrews Boys Club. I took the under fours, the under fives, and kind of that age group. I spent a couple of years there. I moved on to the 2004 age group. They were basically like an under 13s, 14s team, and I took them for about 3 or 4 years. 2 years as the assistant, 2 years as the manager. We done all right. We got promoted a couple of times. We got a Scottish Cup final and developed a lot of boys. A load of boys went on and played pro youth football, and some a wee bit further up. So happy days. But after that, well, just now, I was with the high school 21s for a wee bit, but that got cut off because of COVID. And now I'm with Largs under 20s, and I'm also with Air United 13s girls.
Nice. Sounds unreal, mate. Busy guy then.
Always.
So just a lot of different age groups there. Last two you mentioned were, under 20s. It's, you still count it as youth football maybe, but you're going into men's football then. And then an under 13 girls team. So, what would you say the difference is kind of coaching those two teams? Because obviously it's a big difference.
Well, it's just development scale at different age groups for me, to be honest with you. With the under 13s, there's a little bit more patience required. I think everybody will know that. And especially when they're coming, they're all full of life. I love that. They all get character. They all come and they want to come and learn and enjoy, but that wee bit of patience is definitely one of them. But getting in with the 20s, they're old enough boys now. They know the score when we're getting into football. It's a development and learning environment that we've built there. They come in every day, we go to work, we work hard, and we just try and improve and learn and get better. Concentration at times as well. Although my 20s, they can be short of concentration at times as well. But trying to keep definitely the younger age groups concentrated on one thing for a lot of time frame. That's really different. Like using different words and try to be clever as well, because I think as well, because I was guilty of it when I was getting coached too. A lot of people would kind of like dictate to you, just tell you do this, do that, do this, do that. But when you really think back on it, the best ones were the ones that put thoughts inside your head, so you didn't even know they were doing it. They were just putting thoughts in here, and then you were going on to the park and maybe performing it or building it up. So yeah, definitely, I think it's more mentality rather than the actual physical skills.
You're spot on, mate. Like over here as well, I think I'm U15 girls and then U12 boys, and that's obviously not as big a gap as you've got there, but you can tell the difference even between a couple of years. And then also the gender as well. I think that's also something to take into consideration as well. So you're spot on, just different words, different phrases, different players respond. Right? You'll know
well,
that.
Every player you get is going to be different. No two players are the same.
Absolutely. So
there's patience as well with the 20s. Never mind the 13s. From experience.
They can go on your nerves, but so can they all, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, mate, like what kind of training methods do you use to improve your players? And again, you've kind of touched on it. Would that be age specific, depending on what age you're at, what age you're coaching?
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm quite. I listen to a lot of podcasts and books and stuff on the development, and what I've kind of built up is at the lower age group. It's more. It's like technical and opposed stuff. So a lot of passing, receiving, a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of 2v1s, 3v2, like all trying to put the scenarios in their head to get players that are thinking for themselves almost, rather than, as I said before, just dictating to. I think once you have maybe, say, the 12 years old age group or something like that, then I think what you should be seeing is quality and the intensity of everything that you're doing starting to build up. But you're also just adding that wee bit of tactics into it. So their understanding of positions within the game. They should be doing a bit of positioning work along with the 1v1 stuff and whatever, but it's definitely a step up when you go to the age groups of 12 and upwards. Definitely, I think as they rise through them age groups, the intensity and the level of detail that you're getting into needs to get lifted as well, actually. But the definite main one would be the intensity and definitely the tempo of training, because you've taught them all the stuff, all the first development stuff in the past years that they should. Like, it's amazing how many times you get in the park now and you watch a Sunday League or a pub team, and there's guys that can't pass the ball 5 yards, like genuinely cannot take a touch and pass the ball, and it's just because they've missed out in their development in the younger age group. So if we can develop them and get them set in stone, then when they get to the 12 age group, we've got to go into more detail with your tactics and building the game up and how you want them to play. Makes it a lot easier if you've got a better player in front of you. But that would really be the case. Maybe about 15 and 16, starting to add in a bit of strength and conditioning. So, and that's not becoming a big, massive bodybuilder or anything like that. I'm only sticked in myself. But having that strength and the body positions on the park as well, because it doesn't matter how big or how wee you are. If you can use your body and you've got physical strength to just move him out of your way and play back foot or whatever, it makes it a lot easier as well. So that would kind of be my broad differences between the two. But I would definitely keep my 1v1s, my 2v2s, my technical work. I'd still be doing that right up to the 20s, but maybe in a different way. So like we'd maybe touch on it at the start of training, so it maybe be the warm-up activity, like really try to get home them, taking the ball back foot, stepping off the cones and whatever, and then building it into a more game realistic situation for the next couple of drills. So I've kind of went in a row there, but you go.
No, that's super interesting. I mean, you're kind of leading into it there. One word that's, I'd say, massive now in football that like maybe non-existent 20 years ago is philosophy. So obviously different managers, different coaches have their own philosophy. Some, it pays off for some, it doesn't for others. If you have one, what would you say your philosophy is about football? What style of play are we going for, and how do you implement that, would you say?
I'm all out attack. I love it.
That's what I want to hear.
I say I'm all out attacking football. You can't forget the defensive stuff, right? That there's got to be a place for it in football. So I've seen that hundreds of times. Guy, for his own right or wrong, it might be good at the attacking stuff, and that's fine. But I see people just like glossing over it and like missing it out completely. All the coaching points on the park. For me, the way I would set my team up, if I'm going with the 20s for say, because they're at the end of their development stage, they're looking to push on and get into the junior parts. It would be full on attacking, wingers coming in, full backs bombing on, but then you've also got the element of what are you leaving behind. So if a full back's bombing up the park, he's leaving that space open. So how are you dealing with that individual situation? Is the centre mid pulling in? Is he dropping deep into the full back role like Liverpool do? Or is the holding midfielder dropping in between the two centre halves to give you that cover like the way City and that do? Like, there's a million different ways you can do it. And I think to say this is the only way we're going to do it, and if this happens, you need players that are going to think on their feet and they can do this stuff before it. And that steps back into the development stages I'm talking about. If they've not developed it there, that ability to think for themselves and not just have somebody shouting instructions at them constantly. They can build that, they can do it in real time in the game, and the game's where we're wanting to do it, pretty much. But building the ball up, nice quick attacking football, final third, go and express yourself, go and attack, score goals, crosses, all that gear.
Nice, that's what I like to hear. That should be the only thing you need to do as a coach. Maybe not your style of play, Declan, I don't think.
Me? Oh, attack as well, mate, yeah.
You definitely need to be nice and tight in your shape as well when you're getting back in, because if you watch the best teams in the world, they're all very, very good defensively. And I don't mean like sitting in and just covering their back line, because teams don't do that. There's other ways, like how you're going to press, how you're going to step up the park, and what numbers you're committing to what areas of the park and whatever. So it's a very, very broad range. It's not just as simple as, right, going to drop back in, 4 centre halves, 5 in front, like the
Mhm.
old school way.
Yeah.
There's different ways and cutting angles off. So there's loads and loads to teach in that sense. And I think, especially if you try to play attacking football, if you don't cover the defensive aspects, you're just going to get split open and cut all game.
Mhm.
I'll just touch on the 13s. From the 13s, they're at a really young age, so it's like their very first year in 11, so it's a different development age.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is you've got a blank canvas. if the girl's only 12 years old, she's never played a full season at 11 aside, so she doesn't know position wise or where they're going to be taking up space. But I'm hoping that by building them up to that 12 age group and all the stuff that I'm doing before, again, once I step in to start doing positional stuff and getting them to think for themselves, that it comes a little bit easier. But yeah, that the style, I think as well, with the 13s, I kind of stick to more 4-4-2s and 4-4-3s, the simpler ones for them to understand it, especially at the early age groups. I think that's important, but always attacking.
See, that works.
As a
It works
defender, though, like I can't lie that I love the defending part of it, but it's as a coach, it's definitely more enjoyable to watch your team being able to pass the ball about and move and attack aggressively. So definitely, you know, it's really good to watch. So I'd rather that than just be two banks of 4-4-2, and then a little bit more
definitely. There's a space for both, and just you touched on it a minute ago. At the end of the day, everybody needs that love for football. If like you've probably had it yourself. If you've got a boy or a girl in front of you, and you can tell a million miles away he does not want to be here, it's so hard to get your message across to him because he's thinking about 100 other things. So as well, it's like I heard it before I was listening to a podcast. That 10 years old age group, that's pure football. That's boys coming out their car, boys or girls, sorry, coming out their car, running to the park, boots on, just wanting to kick. That's football is at the purest point. Whereas you step up the age groups, and I think the love can get a wee bit lost with them as well. So I love that under 10 age group that's in below. I just think it's pure love and pure football.
Absolutely, mate. So you kind of started to talk about it, Aaron. How do you teach the game in that terms? Like, what are you like as a coach when you're training, and then when you go into your games, your matches at the weekend? Is it the same approach, or do you differ that depending if you're coaching your training sessions or match day?
I try and keep myself the exact same way, so I'm always enthusiastic and motivational. I think especially with the under 13s and the younger age groups, if I show up and I'm can't be bothered today, kind of shrug my shoulders back, half-assed the training programme or whatever, or what we're doing that night, they can feel that. They feel it and they see it. See when you see training sessions, the best ones for me, you don't even need to watch them. It's the ones you walk past and you just hear. You know what I'm talking about? You hear the buzz, you hear the boom, boom, boom. So enthusiasm, motivation, especially at the younger age groups when you're teaching them skills and demonstrating, loads of enthusiasm, loads of motivation. Wee hints and tips, wee touches here and there. I don't like to go in and just start stopping drills for like 5 minutes at a time and stuff. I'd rather they played it out wrong, and then in the wee bit in the middle, I keep about 2 minutes and I try and put home my key points in them 2 minutes, because especially talking with 5 minutes or something like that, boys and girls' heads, they're miles away. They just switch off. It's like, boom, I'm off. I'm thinking about what I'm doing at the weekend. So usually I try and say about 2 minutes, 90 seconds, batter home 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 points about the different way we could be doing it, and then watch them do it again. But yeah, that's really it. Enthusiasm, motivation. You can be critical at times, but don't be shouting and bawling at people, especially at the younger age groups, because you're just going to lose them.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Like, going through my badges here, it's obviously a little bit different. You'll have done your SFA ones. I'm going through the US soccer. But what you said there was spot on. Like, you don't want to constantly stop practice, like training, to correct every single thing wrong. But you can always come back and talk collectively as a group at the end and then go over those points. But then you're also spot on. even older age groups as well. You don't want to be sitting in there for 5 minutes listening to a coach talking about what went wrong and how we can do that differently. That you just want to be quick to your point and then get back out there again and then see if they've took that on and correct.
Especially where they're coming from. Like, so I always say, if you want to understand your player, you need to understand where they've came from. You need to understand their environment or their culture. And it's exactly the same. That these are the things that lead into that. And I can't think of the right words to describe it, to be honest with you, boys. I can't get the words out for that one, but I know where I was going with it. I can't get the words out for it.
Happens to me every week, don't worry.
Aye, no bother. You just can get that on the editing anyway.
Well, one word that you did say there was motivation. You got that one out plenty of times, and it definitely needs to be said. So, I mean, it's a tough one to keep maybe older people motivated, like 20s. You say.
Oh, sorry, it just come back to me. So if you sorry, I'm making an end of this. See, if you understand that the player you've got has just been at school for 8 hours a day, or in the under 20s case, they've been at work all day. The last thing they want to do is come to football and just listen to you talk about training session. They want to come and play football. That's what football's about. That was only a wee point I was trying to make.
Worth it, because it was as well said. Like, it was a point that needed to be made, I think. And it leads into, again, motivation. You know, you could be thinking about your weekend plans, even your evening plans. You could be wanting to get back and watch a game of football, a Champions League match, for example. So, you know, how do you motivate?
Oh, Scotland after last night.
Exactly. They need a bit of motivation, to be fair. So how do you motivate players, would you say? Is there an approach?
I think it's more body language and your approach and your tone, more than obviously your points have got to be good, right? You've got to research and you've got to look up all the different stuff. So read books, podcasts, all the rest of it. But your points have got to be spot on in that regard. Tone and just body language and enthusiasm for the game. So like, if you're making a point and you just say all your points the exact same way, it just becomes boring. It's you need to keep them interested, 24/7 involved in what they're doing. So like, just say for instance, I don't know, a player's not stepping off the cone, right? So you want them to be on the cone, take a couple of yards off, receive back foot and play out with their left. So if the player wasn't doing that for an extended period of time, I would maybe go up to him, I would have a wee question with him. I'd just say, do you not understand what you're doing? Like, so when he's got the ball, we maybe take a couple of steps back, bang, play, whatever. If it still wouldn't do it, it would be just stripping it back. It would be like, okay, so what do you not understand about this and how can we make it better? But at the same time, you've still got to leave that element of finding it out for themselves, because again, we don't want to get back to that coach telling. Just because of my own personal background, I felt when I was getting told, you do the opposite. It's like when somebody says, don't press that red button, but you're going to press it, aren't you? Definitely, you're going to find out what happens. So it's the exact same as that. Like, if you're going and just battering him and shouting these commands at people, they'll just switch off and ignore you. So it would definitely just be your enthusiasm, body language, how you're putting your points across, how you're doing your demonstrations as well. I think that falls into that category.
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. So, Aaron, aspirations for the future in football. Where do you see yourself? What's the end goal basically for yourself as a coach?
Well, just now, currently sitting, going through my badges, doing the C license, just try to learn and just try to get as best as I can, improve all the players that I'm working with on a day-to-day basis. I say that everybody trains twice a week. You've got to be doing extras, and from a coach's point of view, you can never be done learning, because there is millions upon millions of information out there, and it's all at the tip of your finger. So it's all about your research and how much you're learning, how much of that can you put across in a clear, understanding way to your players as well, because communication, that's a topic we haven't spoken about. Communication is possibly the most important thing in football, because I can go out, set up the best, a Guardiola session, a Klopp, whatever you want it, go set it out in the park. If I don't explain it properly and I don't get the key points across for what I want to happen within that session, how are they supposed to know? They're not. And it's the same in other aspects. Like, you've played under managers yourself and you've been dropped out of the team, no reason, no explanation. You've been dropped out of a team or you've been moved on, no explanation. Why not just speak to him? He's having a tough time at home, or he's having these issues. Why not talk to him? That's one thing I can't get my head around. The amount of coaches and managers that I see that don't talk to their players. Like I just said a minute ago, you have to understand the environment and the culture. He could be coming from anywhere. Like it might not come to training for one night just for saying sake, and then it becomes a wee regular occurrence. So why is he not coming to training? If he's just telling you he's sick and he's ill and all of these things, you need to dig a wee bit deeper and maybe try to get to the bottom of the problem. So I went away off topic again. But basically, I would like to become a manager. That's the end goal. I'd like to manage a professional football team. I'll leave it at that. Nice. I love my coaching. I love developing footballers. I love watching, especially for the younger age. See getting home them, what's the word I'm looking for? Just values within a player, to be humble, be modest, to play in the proper way, to speak to people, to treat people in the correct way, but also developing that football side of them, so that hopefully, even if the football doesn't work out, you've still made that really good human being, somebody that's going to contribute and go out and work for a living and put a graft in whatever chosen field to do. But aspirations for me would be professional football manager. I'd go with that one.
Unreal.
Fast stuff. Well, that leads us absolutely perfectly into our countdown. So every week on the show we do a top 3 countdown. Have a different topic. This week we're going to ask you for 3 managers that have inspired you to be, to do what you're doing. So obviously you've talked about Guardiola there, Klopp. You talked about absolutely no communication from managers. As a Liverpool fan, I believe Rafa Benitez was the coldest manager that has ever existed. I've read a lot of books from footballers and they said he just cold shoulder every time, no explanation for anything.
See, that's the other side of it. There's different ways. Every single different person has a different way of doing things, and it might work for them. See, especially as a coach, it's about what works for you. Don't go and copy. I know coaches are the besties, but don't copy word for word. It needs to be you. There needs to be you within your session and the way you coach. You can't just go and be a carbon cutout of somebody else.
Absolutely. So then, obviously there's plenty of drills online, plenty of, info you can get to be a coach. But, if you could count down 3 managers, that have inspired you to, to take up coaching football.
Yeah, well, I'd probably go for the very first one. I think it's impossible to ignore him. Alex Ferguson. He's the biggest and best Scottish manager there's ever been. And once you dig deep into what went on in Man United and how much that was just a continuous conveyor belt of winning, the desire to win every single match at the elite level, at the very top level. I think obviously his movies just came out not that long ago as well. It's absolutely amazing to watch, all the stories. Alex Ferguson would definitely be one.
Of course.
The second one, I would say, it might throw people off a wee bit, but Brian Clough. Clough, oh wow. Just the way he used to get his message across to players and I understand it's a completely different era to now, but you can still learn language and communication tactics in the way that he done it. There's actually a really good movie. There's a movie about him. It's called The Damned United. It's on Amazon. Oh, that's a great watch. I like that side of it. And maybe the last one, I would probably go for somebody like Brendan Rodgers, just because I can't remember too much of Martin O'Neill. Striking football wasn't the best, but we still done things. So like the first real image in my head of playing outstanding, incredible football was Rodgers when he came in, and that first season was devastating. I hope something similar happens with Ange, but they're the 3. If I do as good as them 3, I'm not doing too bad, am I? Ferguson, Clough, and Rodgers, they're not bad.
He's just allowed himself as a Celtic supporter there as well without telling us. Good man.
I get it in somewhere. I've spoken about everything else.
We'll not talk about the weekend. We'll move on for that. Still.
Aye.
Nah, mate, Aaron, you've raised some like really incredible points, like good stuff, like stuff that like as a coach myself, and like Pete, you've obviously done a bit of coaching and going through your badges. You're hitting on a lot of key points that I'd say like a modern coach really has to focus on. You've touched on some really good points, and it's really important, I think, to get that message out to coaches that might be struggling, might need a bit of motivation or to understand specific aspects of being a football coach.
Just on what you said there, see if there is any coaches out there that stay in my district and I'm Clyde, just text me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on WhatsApp, on Instagram, whatever. Anybody's ever struggling, I tell most of the coaches I meet, just text me. I'm not saying I'm a genius and I've got all the answers and blah, blah, but I know how hard it was for me when I started out, because everybody sees the great sessions when you put them on now, but they didn't start like that. They never start like that. So if anybody needs any help or any advice or even just somebody to talk to, I'm there as well. So
nice one, mate.
No, you're spot on, mate. And when the episode does go up, we'll have Aaron tagged in and all the stuff, so like you can easily access his social media and stuff to reach out to him. So spot on, mate. Thank you for coming on again. Really appreciate it.
No hassle. No,
Thanks,
it's been brilliant, man. Once I get talking about coaching, you can't shut me up, man. It's my chosen field.
No, like we be honest, like we could talk about this all day. It's like three guys who've done it. You could easily sit here all night and talk, but we know you've got your coaching to go to as well, so we won't hold you for too long.
No, it's all right. We can keep them back. They get enough time with me.
There you go. Pete, mate, thank you also for joining us again today.
Yeah,
thanks very much, you guys. You've been brilliant. Thanks for allowing me to come on and obviously have a wee chat with you. It's brilliant, and anytime you want me back on, just give me a shout.
Really interesting.
Yep. So again, everybody that listens, thank you for listening. Same, you can contact Aaron. We'll put that out there. Make sure you give us that follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we've also got the YouTube up there as well. So thank you everybody for listening, and we'll see you all again next week. Take care.